This is Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. I told you I was loaded for bear. I've been off the grid for a week, and it's good to be back. And I showered, which I only do once a month, but I was, off the grid, so I needed to freshen up for you all. My hair's a little dry. I need a little more grease. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, proudly on AFR Talk. Honestly, I will be at the bottom of the hour talking about my break with my best half, Catherine, and the kids. It was remarkable, and I really want to just say thank you to Ben Johnson, and we'll touch on that at the bottom of the hour. But right now we go to our good friend Chris Horner. His latest book, The Liberal War on Transparency. He has gotten a write-up in Politico, which is a left-of-center publication, to say the least. And it reads, it's entitled, Chris Horner, Master of FOIA, Bedevils the White House. Chris Horner joins us now. How are you, Chris?
I'm fantastic. Welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be back. Now, a number of reasons. I leave town, and President Obama comes back and replays what he talked about at the beginning of his administration in 2009. Here's just a portion of his weekend address highlighting what he spoke about earlier on this week. He's very folksy in this one. Roll it.
Hi, everybody. A few days ago, I unveiled a new national plan to confront the growing threat of a changing climate. Decades of carefully reviewed science tells us our planet is changing in ways that will have profound impacts on the world we leave our children. Already we know that the 12 warmest years in recorded history have all come in the last 15, and that last year was the warmest in American history. And while we know no single weather event is caused solely by climate change, we also know that in a world that's getting warmer than it used to be, all weather events are affected by it. More extreme droughts, floods, wildfires, and hurricanes.
Scary stuff. Chris Horner, I believe one of your bestsellers addresses this.
Yes, with the title, publishers being what they are, but the title was Red Hot Lies. And I have to say, while politics is politics, the presidency is still the presidency. And while we can disagree on things, we're not allowed to make things up. And that was very disheartening. He can play clever word games, which they often do with temperatures. They'll say ever or in history or on record, not noting that, A, the historical record is not much over a century long, and we don't keep the same instruments with the same sensitivity managed and maintained the same way and the same standards on airport runways the way we did back in the 19th century. Oh, wait, it's the other way around. We've actually moved the thermometers to airport runways where it's slightly hotter than it is where they used to be out in rural areas. So there's also, you can play all sorts of games with on-record temperatures and all that, but scaring people with hurricanes and, I forget the rest, tornadoes and the catastrophic losses, that was simply untrue. There's no trend to the extent there's a trend. It's downward. I mean, you adjust this for obviously if you build more houses on the beach, oddly enough, there are more beach houses destroyed during storms. So you can say the dollar figure goes up, but no sane analysis does that. But anyway, he runs around with this, therefore, non-sane analysis saying losses are at an all-time high or they're going up. They're not going up if you adjust for for GDP. That is the fact that you're building more houses on railroad tracks, essentially, and seeing more houses get knocked over by trains. So that was all disappointing, but it ended with, fortunately you spared us, the sneering in his speech then on Tuesday at his fellow countrymen for disagreeing with him on something he actually knows nothing about. It just gets very adolescent and very nasty in his tone and in his words for people who disagree with him about something that he's reading because it was put in front of him. So it was a very disheartening episode, but not the most honest either.
And what is he counting on here, Chris? Because like the flat earther comments, like anything that the president has said, not anything, but a lot of what he says about the environment is to scare us, because you can't get this legislation through without a portion of fear, and then you've got ignorance. So what is he counting on when this already failed?
Yeah, I have to say, because fear is they have been banking on this for quite some time. I don't know if you can sustain terror long enough for the political process to catch up to their desires. Remember, they've been saying we must act now for 2 decades now, just over the horizon. If not calendar, then over in Shelbyville, just not here. Boy, it's terrible, and you don't want it to happen. Sign here, details to follow. Can't even describe the horrors. Don't look now. No time to talk. And they've done this for 2 decades. As the sky remains exactly where we left it, has yet to fall, and temperatures stop rising, just as previously they stopped cooling. And none of this is found in the computer model projections, which is the entire basis for this extraordinarily harmful, by the way, he didn't point this out, extraordinarily harmful agenda. One thing you have to note, and you and I discussed this on multiple occasions. In fact, the first time we ever spoke was in this context. He used to say, look over there if you want to see how this is going to work out. And then people pointed out exactly how badly it's worked out over there, Spain, for example. So he doesn't say, look at Spain anymore, but he still gives the same, this will create jobs. Look, tsunamis
Well, we
create
actually
jobs.
have that. We actually have that, and I would like to play that for you because in your book, Power Grab, which we were discussing in our first interview, I believe, that you're mentioning, is, in fact, this is what he goes back to. And I want the people to hear this because we're not making it up. Roll it.
This is the fight America can and will lead in the 21st century. But it'll require all of us as citizens to do our part. We will need scientists to design new fuels and farmers to grow them. We'll need engineers to devise new technologies and businesses to make and sell them. We'll need workers to man assembly lines that hum with high-tech, zero-carbon components, and builders to hammer into place the foundations for a new, clean energy age. We'll need to give special care to people and communities unsettled by this transition. And those of us in positions of responsibility will need to be less concerned with the judgment of special interests and well-connected donors, and more concerned with the judgment of our children. If you agree with me, I need you to act. Educate your classmates and colleagues, your family and friends. Speak up in your communities. Remind everyone who represents you at every level of government that there's no contradiction between a sound environment and a strong economy.
That is, well, I think we could go days on just that clip there, Chris. Well-connected donors, like 80% of the DOE's loan recipients were donors. But, okay, just break that down because, that sounds nice. A lot of people agree with 5-year plans and central planning. Come on, Chris.
Right, and that's exactly what he described. But if you just remember, and that was just like an op-ed written by the former EPA Administrator Richard Windsor, who went by the name Lisa Jackson. And in it she wrote, no, you've got this all wrong. If I mandate that you do something or install something or destroy something, you'll have to pay somebody to do it. So you see that'll create jobs. This is playground economics. This is baby talk. It is economic baby talk. Yes, Mr. President, whatever you mandate, we will have to pay somebody to do it. And I see those jobs being created, and therefore I can't be a denier and say that didn't create jobs. Now, if you'll join me in the real world and say, well, of course, tsunamis, of course, create tremendous numbers of jobs. Vandalism, shooting convenience store clerks, everything, there's nothing that doesn't create jobs, and people don't think about this. Say, well, what else happens when you mandate we move productive resources to unproductive because you say I want to trust the judgment of children, not special interests, who are running around paying to scare children to do what they even have a name for it called Pester Power, to terrify adults into accepting this agenda. That's what I mean. This is, look, I've been at this a long time, ever since I learned that Enron created the global warming industry, and I learned it working for Enron. Yes, special interests created this, and they're going to run around continuing to say, if only you rob Peter to pay Paul, why Peter will have to, or Paul will have to hire somebody to do the job that Peter's mandated to hire him for, and so on. This is baby talk. Where has it worked? Please point to those countries where it has, because you used to. The problem is they're all disasters now for this reason, not by coincidence. I mean, he doesn't say Spain because this bankrupted Spain. And so he stopped saying Spain, and what does that tell us? I sound like a broken record, but I have to tell you, he stopped saying Spain because we exposed it. Now, that to me should be enough to stop pushing the Spain agenda. But no, it just means tell the speechwriters to strike Spain.
But that highlights the point of who you are, which you're a bedeviler. You're a person who is seeking information. And for Politico to pick up on this, jumping to the article, the liberal war on transparency. Chris, you've given us a guide to apply, and people would sit there and say, why do we need to apply? Well, apply what you put forth. Well, because we've got the IRS scandal. We've got questions about the NSA. We've got a whole host of things. And you're at the front of it. And you are on the conservative right side of things. I would say the Competitive Enterprise Institute, obviously, senior fellow. So, Chris, are people waking up to not only your book, but the importance of FOIA requests?
I think so, because there was just this cascade of revelations, and I have people contacting me after radio or TV shows saying, I'm starting at the city council or local school board or state university level, and guess what? There's a lot there. And you're right. In fact, the further away from the Washington bureaucracy you get, the less discreet they are. We've learned this in the Charlottesville City Council, at the state university level. All of the principles apply. The laws may differ in their language, but that's why the how-to guide in the back just says, look, basically here's how you do it, and here are the authorities to cite, and the same principles apply. And they have to give you these records because they're not theirs. They're yours. And I've got more people saying, it struck me. I can start asking these questions, and they owe me an answer. And I'm going to get it. And I think that's fantastic.
And I think it is fantastic for us because it reminds us we can't just have things on autopilot. We've seen what happens. It crashes. And you have been on this, and you have been educating us on the issue of global warming, but much more. And that is how to get to the truth. Chris Horner, The Liberal War on Transparency. Your line at the end of the article is a classic. Loved it. I posted it up on the Facebook. Thank you for all you do, buddy. Great to be with you. Take care.
Take care.
All right. Chris Horner. See, it's about the how-to. It's about the why. That's what we address here. All right, was that a rap? Are you... Seriously, what are you drinking? Is that some diet soft drink? It's getting to you. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. So proud to be back. Proud? Yes. Proud and happy to be back. I'll tell you about the vacay on the flip side. I'll also bring you I have a major announcement. No, I'm not on a diving board, and it's not Cannonball. It is big, though, about the AFR family. And there's been, yes, an addition. Woodward style. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. AFR Talk.
Here's Dan Celia with today's Stewardship Moment.
It's amazing to me how we sometimes resent the mentioning and speaking about money and stewardship from the pulpit, yet it's repeatedly mentioned in the Bible. Chapter 15 in 1 Corinthians is an awesome affirmation of Christian hope and everlasting life. At the end of the passage, the first verse of chapter 16, Paul says, "Now, about the collection for God's people." See, the collection was as sacred to Paul as all the other things in chapter 15. Like it or not, giving is, in fact,